Minnesota Vikings offseason continues to roll on, but of course it is never too early for a 53-man rooster projection. And ESPN's NFL Nation writer Kevin Seifert, who is definitely not Carl Gerbschmidt. Again, I say to you, good day, sir. Kevin Seifert is not Carl Gerbschmidt. So he did up a 53-man rooster projection. Now, it's behind the ESPN Plus paywall, so we're not going to try and blow up his spot and then just do all that stuff. But we're going to do what some of the aggregators do, and we're just going to give you a little taste, a little amuse-bouche from the breakdown. So we're actually going to go through 6 shocking cuts from Seifert's 53-man roster projection. Now, the thing with Seifert is he's a veteran NFL writer. He knows the ins and outs. He's there every single day that media is allowed to practice. So I give a lot of credence to his opinion on how this roster is shaping up. Even though it's an unknown with Kwesi, it's an unknown with Kevin O'Connell, since this is their first time as a GM and head coach, respectively. But 6 surprising cuts. Shocking cuts, as it were. So, Amir Smith-Marsette did not make the roster. A speedster, last year's 5th-round wide receiver coming out of Iowa. Now, he missed most of the offseason work because he was in a walking boot, but he's expected to be ready to go for training camp. So, I don't know if this is a practice squad or injured reserve situation, blah, blah, blah. And also, take all of these 53-man roster cuts with a grain of salt, because with the expanded practice squad to 16 staying in place, as well as the up to 3 game day elevations per player on the practice squad, even though you're not on the 53 and you're just on the practice squad, I mean, you're still going to be involved potentially on the game day rooster. So take that into account. So again, we're not blowing up the spot. We're not having all the spoilers, but a couple of players who just made it through the cracks, a little bit surprising. Also, Burt Wilson made the roster, which I actually think could happen. I think Burt Wilson as potentially a punt returner as well as a wide receiver 5'6". Why not? Then you got offensive guard Wyatt Davis, no matter what. So, yes, we're big fans of Wyatt Davis. We're glad that the Vikings were able to get him in the 3rd round last year. Now, the reports, as I die, I get choked up just thinking about Wyatt Davis, that you, Rona. But the reports that Rick Spielman sort of went cowboy on the pick, allegedly went against the suggestion of some of the scouts. I don't know if I believe that. What I do know is last year rookies didn't really have a chance to develop, whether it's ISM, whether it's Wyatt Davis, whether it's Kellen Mond, whether it's Chad Surratt, etc. The tension and the culture didn't really lend itself to playing rookies right away with Zimmer in his final year in power. Him and Spielman were at odds, so Zimmer, consciously or subconsciously, making Spielman's draft picks look bad is what it is. But Wyatt Davis, he still hovering. He's been working with the 2s and the 3s in training camp. And again, we have a lot of credence to Seifert. So he sees how the offensive line is coming along. Even though with OTAs and minicamp, no contact for sure, but he sees who's with the 2s, who's with the 3s, who's been interchanging, who's interacting well with the coaches, who looks good in walkthroughs, etc. So Wyatt Davis, I do think that he's on the bubble, because it's not unheard of with a new GM, new head coach in place, that you jettison even some high draft picks in the not so recent past, even as recently as last year. Next up, James Lynch. So jumping James Lynch, I do like him on the defensive line, but I could see with the shift in scheme that he could potentially be let go, even though I do think that his perfect position is 5-tech in the National Football League, and the Vikings are going to employ that position a lot more as they shift to an odd front. But there you go. Linebacker Blake Lynch. So the Vikings are shifting to a 3-4, so that does open up some work for inside linebackers. But the Vikings could run 4 deep there with Troy Dye and Eric Kendricks, as well as the Brian Asamoah, the rookie from Oklahoma, who Kwesi drafted, as well as the free agent Jordan Hicks, the veteran who Kwesi signed. And Blake Lynch, former UDFA out of Baylor, who I think has surpassed all expectations, and he has played really well whenever he's gotten a chance to be on the field. He could be the odd man out in this situation. Of course, a practice squad could be wide open as well, and then he could go from there. And then finally, 2 cornerbacks that were let go, Harrison Hand and Chris Boyd. Now, they've been mainstays the last couple years for the Vikings. They haven't really broken into the starting lineup with regularity. Chris Boyd has gotten some opportunities. Harrison Hand, I'm still on the Harrison Hand train, man. The pride of Temple, formerly of Baylor. I think that whenever he gets on the field, 38 special, now he's number 20, so number 20 special, does do some good things. But Could just be a numbers game in that cornerback room, as they signed a bunch of veterans, retained a couple veterans, as well as drafted Andrew Booth Jr., as well as a Caleb Evans. So it just sort of is what it is there. But yeah, a couple of these guys, a little bit surprising since they are pretty young in their Vikings tenure. But like we said, all bets are off when it comes to changing a head coach, changing a GM, as well as they're changing schemes on offense and defense. So, I mean, it's going to be a fight. And that's something that's going to be really interesting as we head into training camp, is that no one, except for maybe a dozen players, are guaranteed a roster spot, and you love that competition. Every single day, every single walkthrough, every single rep, every single session, you got to bring it. Otherwise, maybe you'll be deuces. But your thoughts are thoughts. Vikings 53-man roster projection by Kevin Seifert, who is definitely not Carl Gerbschmidt. Let us know your thoughts on our thoughts and his thoughts in the comment section below. Subscribe for daily Vikings takes. Want to support the work? Put a little something in the Venmo. But until next time, Skol, production value.